everyone. Just wanted to talk about a topic that comes up quite a bit in my office, this idea of how to initiate sexual activity with a partner, whether it's someone who's fairly new in your life or if it's a tried and true long-term relationship. There are times where you just don't know how to initiate. It's more often true in my office that I see a lot of women who don't really know how to initiate sexuality. They maybe have a lot of self-doubt when it comes to that, or they don't have a lot of practice. I often hear people talking about this idea that women shouldn't have to initiate sexuality, and I think that in long-term committed relationships, that's definitely not the case. If you want someone to feel wanted, if you want someone to feel desired, especially sexually, initiating sexual activity, not just being receptive to sexual activity, is something that goes a really long way. If you've never talked about what are turn-ons and turn-offs, that's a great place to start with your partner. I know that it can feel a little bit awkward to point out things that maybe your partner has done or maybe previous partners have done that are turn-offs, but most people want to have that information, whether it's the way that you dress. I recently was talking to a couple about how Crocs and basketball shorts just don't seem to really scream sexy for most people. And so being mindful of the things that you wear and showing that you put effort into how you look, even if it's something as simple as going to the grocery store, can really be a turn on, because it shows your partner that you're wanting them to be physically attracted to you, even when you feel very much emotionally attracted and psychologically attracted to someone. Showing that you put in some effort into physically attracting your partner can go a long way to helping y'all feel ready and willing and able to initiate sexual activity. The other thing that I tend to help people with is this idea of how to initiate. Is it going to be something that's verbal or nonverbal? Is it going to be something that's overt, or maybe something that's just a little bit, subtle? Your style is your style, but I want you to question if you even have a style. If you're not ever initiating, question as to why. Is it because you don't know how to? Is it because you did and you got rejected for whatever reason and that stuck with you and now you've got a barrier up? Maybe you feel like, no, I've done it, I've initiated so many times, now it's my partner's turn. And if you're a woman, being really mindful that it takes a lot of courage for a male partner to constantly be the one who's initiating and putting himself up for a possible rejection. I'm a big fan of not rejecting your partner more than twice in a row. Now, if they're asking you and trying to initiate multiple times a day, it's a bit much, but if over the course of a week your partner is initiating, be mindful that it takes a lot of courage to do that. And then also take a look at yourself. Have you been initiating in the past 4 instances of sexuality? And if not, really ask yourself why. So going back to the how, if you're going to go a verbal route, sometimes alluding to something is kind of a safer bet. So saying, like, hey, maybe later we can meet upstairs, or, maybe even texting your partner. Once the kids go to bed, do you want to fool around? Or giving them kind of that ability to say yes or no, instead of like, do you want me? And having them say yes or no. Well, that may not be accurate. They may not feel up for it right then and there, but they do want you overall. So being mindful of the way that you communicate it is really important. Sometimes somebody will just say something along the lines of like, hey, do you want to have sex? That is very straight to the point, and it does get the point across. But you need to ask your partner if that is a turn on or a turn off. They may not be up for sex, but they may be up for sensual activity, massaging, touching, outer course of all sorts, even, oral or manual stimulation. So maybe they're not up for sex. So when you say the word sex, and that to most people is defined as sexual intercourse, not to everybody, but most of the time when people say, do you want to have sex, that's what they're alluding to. And again, you have to have a conversation with your partner. But if that's the case, they may say, you know what, not really. My stomach is hurting, or it's that time of the month and I don't feel comfortable, or I'm cramping, or maybe if somebody's recently had an injury and they're like, no, that seems a little too athletic to be thinking about doing right now. But they might be open to nude cuddling. They might be open to sharing a shower. The nonverbals, it could be holding your partner a little tighter. It could be nuzzling up against their ear. It could be kissing them for 3 seconds or longer, not just the simple hello, goodbye peck. It could be touching their shoulder or their lower back, and maybe even just caressing their hips or bottom. But I'm not a huge fan of recommending that you just kind of grope someone, whether it's going for their genitals, going for it, men or women, going for their chest, and that can be kind of a turn off, especially if it comes out of nowhere. There's like the startle response, and it can feel very juvenile, which for a lot of people is just not sexy at all. So that sort of nonverbal cue, the groping part, it's not going to be the best way to gauge your partner's receptivity when it comes to sexual advances. That may not be the case for everyone, but most people, 9 out of 10 that I talk to, don't want to just be groped and have that be kind of testing the waters to see if they're available. I find that a lot of men will come in and say, well, if I want to know if she's receptive, I'll come over and kind of like, grab her boob. And if she doesn't swat me off, or if she doesn't like throw me to the side, then it's a maybe. Well, there are better ways. There are better ways, I'll tell you that much. Switching it up a bit can show that you're open and willing to try new things. It can be a sign that you maybe are trying to avoid being into a routine, whether it's lighting a certain candle or wearing some new night clothes. It doesn't necessarily have to be lingerie, but that's one way too. It could be writing a little note and slipping it into your partner's wallet. Like, there's lots of different and fun and cute ways that are respectful and that always allow for a yes or no answer. If you're only initiating because you're expecting a yes and you cannot handle a no, you need to talk to your partner about a different way that allows for both of you to be able to give that yes or no answer freely, and be mindful of how you come across. You want to start off a sexual activity in a very positive way and end it in a positive way, and that includes how you initiate. If you have any tips about fun, cute, different, respectful ways that you initiate sexual activity in your relationship, please feel free to share it with us online. It is a great place to do that. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful month.